You guys probably know my stance on video game journalists. I believe that the correct way of pronouncing it is with the J being silent. These are people who have been a net detriment to the video gaming industry and a net detriment to the consumer. Most of them aren't even journalists, they're just bloggers and social justice activists masquerading as game journalists. They work at Californian publications and they pretty much hate the consumer. They hate the people reading their articles. They are outspoken about this, and unfortunately, game companies listen to them. And they're gatekeeping. That's what they do. They try to completely bypass whatever the gamer wants in order to push their view of the world. And it's kind of funny because when you look at it, it's all about the money, cronyism. They like getting wined and dined by corporations. They like getting premium access for games like CD keys in advance of anyone else so that they can get clickbait on their articles. And they constantly talk about diversity and inclusion, but if you look at publications like Polygon, almost overwhelmingly white people working there. So, like, it's pretty much what it is. It's a racketeering. Like, they go to video game companies and it's like, hey, look, if you play ball and you do what we say and you wine and dine us, we won't slander you. We're not going to make bad articles about you. But if you're a company like CD Projekt Red, well, tough shit. Now, I don't even think that this is the most negative thing that video game journalists are doing. The worst thing that they have done to the gaming industry is to not talk about certain topics that are very important and should be talked about, and instead focus on things that gamers don't care about. So, for example, instead of complaining about loot boxes and predatory monetizational practices, they're like, why isn't there a woman in Assassin's Creed? Like really low IQ talking points that most gamers don't even give a shit about, while ignoring games like Assassin's Creed, the French Revolution one, for being such a buggy mess on release that it wasn't even playable. I think about when I grew up. I think about when I was playing video games and we were joking around that if companies were greedy, if it was like capitalism the way the left describes it, when you played Half-Life and you would switch from one act to another, you would get a commercial on the loading screen. You'd get like, buy McDonald's while playing Half-Life on the loading screen. Well, guess fucking what? Now it has come into reality. Now this is actually the case if you purchase the new NBA 2021. It's unreal, right? Like, look here, bigot. Okay, you log into the game, okay, and as you're logging in, you get like the teams, and then you just get to see a commercial. You get to see an unskippable commercial, which, by the way, gets to play all the way till the freaking end before you can actually go into your game. And on top of this is a $75 game we're talking about, right? Like the price for the games have risen, and on top of that you also get to see commercials, and on top of that this is an NBA shit, right? If you're not aware why I call it a shit, it's because these types of video games, usually sports games, they come out each year and they bring very little improvement from the previous title. I mean, you might have like a little bit of graphical upgrades, you might have, a little bit of physical things, and it's mainly about like the new players that are introduced into the teams, but very rarely do you get like a sports game that's revolutionary compared to the previous one, and they charge you full money on it. And on top of that, a lot of these sports games used to have loot boxes, like you'd collect cards with players and what. Absolute shit, like the worst that the video game industry has to offer. None of the journalists are criticizing this, by the way. Like, none of them are even focusing on this. Oh, they were masturbating when FIFA added the women into the game, and you could play Barcelona versus, I don't know, some Italian women's soccer team. Like, okay, but like it doesn't address the actual problem. Like, if you don't have money to purchase the shite, how are you promoting feminism if only wealthy people get to buy it? I personally think that the reason people buy these games is because their friends are playing it, So, like, for example, if I don't want to buy the new FIFA 2021, if my friends buy the new FIFA 2021, then I'll be alone. Like, I won't have people to play with. So I think, like, that's the reason most people upgrade. And, you know, you could say, well, if people would stop paying for this, you know, if people would just boycott it, then none of this would happen. And you're right, you know, like, you're right. But most boycotts happen when you have a leader, you know, like a spokesperson, someone with authority that's saying, all right, we're going to boycott this, and have something organized that gets into the press and, you know, like most people read about it, which is what the journalists are there for, to make sure that these subjects of boycotting don't ever pop up. Like, they will talk about, you know, tropes of women in video games and how important diversity is in the NBA 2021 and other shit like this. Like, they're all about that. They'll talk about it until nonstop. But they will never mention that this is too much. You know, this is too much. And by the way, I got nothing against seeing ads in a video game, if the video game is cheaper for it. Like, instead of paying $60 for a video game, I get to pay 40 or I get to pay 30 or whatever. And you give me some ads. Like, that would be good. Hell, I wouldn't mind. But when video games are $70, $75, and journalists are publishing, oh, look, these experts are saying that gamers are more than happy to pay $75 for a game. And, oh, look, this is actually good for the industry and blah, blah, blah. Get fucked. You know, get fucked. Like, I haven't seen video gamers on any forum being happy that games are becoming more expensive. I don't know who these experts are. I don't know how they do their research and whatnot, but they're full of shit. You know, like, I hate this new scientism where all you need is an expert that contradicts, like, basic bitch normal things. It's like, yeah, consumers don't like to pay more for something. No one likes to pay fucking more for something. What scientist did you got that is telling you, no, people like and they're happy to pay more for something? You know, like, but no, you have an expert, so you disagree, you're a science denialist. But it is what it is, you know, like, this is the standard of the industry. Like, oh yeah, the new PlayStation, oh yeah, it's got some new SSDs and the loading times are going to be really fast. You won't even notice the loading times, like, they're going to be great. Except, even if the game finishes loading, you still have to watch the commercial. I mean, the game is ready to go, it's booted up, baby, but, like, no, you can't play until you see the fucking commercial. And this is going to spread like a cancer. Like I'm telling you, you're going to see it in other video games. Wait until League of Legends catches wind of it. You know, like, the only ones that actually did it in some common sense, I guess, would be Capcom, believe it or not. Like, with their new Street Fighter, it allowed you to watch commercials, but in exchange it would give you, like, some fight money, which you could use to purchase fighters and other things. And it's like, I'm still not 100% happy with it, but, like, at least it's better than this shit. At least you get something as the player. Like, there is something given to you for subjecting yourself to this abuse. I mean, do you guys remember when Xbox tried to launch Xbox One? Like, that little shite, which would have the camera always online. Like, the video camera was always turned on. And it would monitor your heartbeat and your breathing so that it could compile that information and sell it to the developers. And say, oh, look, this part of the game, it seems that players got really emotionally involved with it. Oh, this part of the game shows that players didn't get emotionally involved in it. And what would happen is that the game developers would pay Xbox, like, well, Microsoft, they would pay them money for that. You know, like, I'm not against it, but I don't like being monetized that way, and I get nothing in return. You know, like, the way YouTube does things is so amazing. It's like, okay, we're going to put commercials on your videos, but you get a cut. How is that the bad thing? You know, it's like, okay, I'm down, I'm cool with it. It's like, yeah, give me a cut. Just give me a cut, and then, like, you can monetize my life science if you want. Hell, you can even add, like, this device that I get to hook up. I can hook up an AKG on my asshole while I'm playing video games to see when my pucker clings. You know, like, that's fine. That's fine, like, it's perfect. But no, it's all about how we can rob the consumer of more, how we can take more from the consumer, how we can monetize the consumer. I mean, look at the shit that Baldur's Gate is pulling now. It's like early access. And I know Divinity Original Sin also had the early access. Go fuck themselves, both titles. You know, like, it used to be that people were paid to beta test something. Now you're paying full price for a game, and you're beta testing it, like, and you're checking it for bugs and whatnot. I'm going to go into a rant if I keep up, and a blood vessel might pop. There is literally no consumer advocacy in the gaming industry. None whatsoever. Nothing for the consumer, everything for the company, and the journalists are all happy to be in on it. Because they're companies as well, I guess. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video.